Hi, in this video you will understand how to use spacing and spacer in stack layouts. So what is a spacer? A spacer is a flexible space that expands along the major axis of its containing stack layout. So the containing stack layout can be an H stack, which is a horizontal container, or a V stack, which is a vertical container. Using a spacer in a horizontal container will expand horizontally as much as the stack allows. So when this happens, it will move the sibling views out of the way. On the other hand, you can use spacing to adjust the vertical or the horizontal space between child elements in a containing stack. So let's look at how it works, starting with this VStack parent container. It contains all the items on the screen. So we have a slider and then text below the slider and two icons above the slider. So the vertical space between the slider and the text below it is the same as the vertical space between the slider and the top icons. So to change the vertical space, we can pass the spacing parameter to the VStack. Let's, for example, use 40. You can see we widen the vertical space between the slider and the two icons. We will change this to 8. Next, in this H stack container, we have the two icons, the TV and the ellipse. So using the spacer in an H stack, we can move content in 3 ways. For example, if we want to push the icons to the right, we can place a spacer here. If we want to move them apart, we can place a spacer between the two icons, or we can move the icons to the left by placing a spacer below them. Let's start by pushing the icons to the right. So we can add a spacer here. You can see the two icons are pushed to the right. Now let's remove it and place it between the icons. So the horizontal space between the two icons widens. I will remove it and place it below the two icons, and now we have them on the left. We want to keep the icons on the right, so I will place it here. So that is how the spacer works in an H stack. Let's move on to spacing in a vertical stack. In this V stack, we have the slider and the text below it. So let's give it a spacing of 4 to reduce the vertical space. If we, for example, change it to -4, you can see the text comes below the slider. So let's leave it as 4. In the fourth example of using the spacer, we want to push the text below the slider apart. So over here, let's add the spacer. We have now pushed the text to the edges of the screen. Let's move to the next file and see how the spacer works in a vertical container. Here we have 2 bar items and then a video playing and also the content from the other file. To widen the space between the video and the controls below it, what we can do is to use a spacer between the video and the controls. So let's add it here. And that widens the vertical space between the video and the controls. We now have the video pushed upwards below the 2 bar icons. So what we can do is to add another spacer here. And that centers the video. So now we have equal vertical space between the video and the 2 bar icons and between the video and the controls. So this is how to use spacing and spacer in layout containers in SwiftUI. Thanks for watching.